to parallel end times in the Bible. Naturally, the COI wasted no time in exploring these moons. After all, because of their connection to humanity and them seeming to be alive, this could be a giant clue as to what happened during the Quiet Rapture. The COI seems to have discovered 2 moons, but none had anything important as they are not named in the game. However, they found a 3rd moon, eventually being named Z8. We can assume they held multiple expeditions here, but found little success or anything of interest in these moons. Sometime, while exploring Z8, they discovered a new blood moon, and named it AT5. Unlike Z8 and the other moons, AT5 is noted to have something that greatly interests the COI, a large trench. After its discovery, they seemingly abandoned all exploration of Z8 and began extensively researching this planet. I tried to see somehow if the acronyms for these moons could have held any religious significance, and it's possible they do. Z8 is the only moon named after AT5, and the number 8 in the Bible is associated with new beginnings. It's possible that Z8 showed more promise than the other moons, and because of this, in the COI, they figured this would be the key to finding how to restore everything back to how it was. The only thing I could find for AT5 is Acts 5, a story from the Bible about a man named Ananias and his wife Sapphira, who after selling his land kept part of the money and lied to the Holy Spirit, committing a great sin and dying after confessing. However, this story doesn't seem to relate to anything in Iron Lung. The COI would start sending several convicts down into the trench in 1885. They had 3 burner subs, one of them being SM-13, nicknamed the Iron Lung, and one of them disguised as a burner, but is actually a research sub called the SM-8. The Iron Lung many would consider to be a spot for execution, as if you went down in the Iron Lung, they never expected you to come back up. However, the SM-8 wasn't piloted by convicts, it was piloted by scientists. It was expected to always return. After some exploration, it's very quickly clear that unlike Z8, AT5's ocean had things in it. Things that were alive. While the COI has the entire terminal entry redacted, we see some of what the first few expeditions must have seen. The first are objects that are all a bit hard to pinpoint. They look as if they could be an everyday rock, but from how white they are, they almost look like they could be bones. Another are these weird tube-like objects. They almost look like worms. If the player is close enough to them, they can be heard splashing around and moving, suggesting that they are actually alive. And last, and certainly the most important, bones. Bones of something that is unlike what we've ever seen. If there are bones of something in here, that means there must be things that are alive. This was huge. This was the first sign of anything alive outside of the station in years. The COI starts their next expedition, this time using their research submarine, the SM-8. It is through the expedition that they find there is actually something alive, but things don't go as planned. The SM-8 never returns. Despite it never coming back, the COI send an unnamed convict into the Iron Lung to go on a survey mission. We don't know much about this person, but we know that they didn't survive. There are 2 pieces this convict left behind for us to find in the game. The first, a terminal entry. It reads the following. Hopefully they don't redact this before updating the database. What most people don't understand is that not all subs are built equal. The SM-8 isn't a burner sub. It really is for exploring and surveying blood oceans. If they send you down in the Iron Lung, they don't give a fuck if you come back, or if the sub comes back, because it's a pile of garbage and you're a piece of shit. You come back with photos? Great. You sit down there and suffocate quietly? That's even better. But if they send the SM-8 down, one of the scientists is piloting, and they all expect them to return. And now, the SM-8 is in the blood ocean in pieces. No, not hit a rock pieces, or sprung a leak pieces. It looks like something tore it up. And the weirdest thing is that no one else seems surprised. We might have found the first planetary life since the Rapture, and they're acting like it's no big deal. The SM-8 had been torn to pieces by something in the depths of the trench. In fact, we even get to see the remains of it in the game. Weirdly enough, the COI don't blink an eye at this, almost as if, for some reason, they expected this to happen. Why were they so calm about there being life on this moon? Why were they not freaking out that their best sub was attacked? These are all reasonable questions to ask, but ones we don't get the answer for. This all points to the COI knowing something about what's going on in the universe, and they know that AT5 probably has their answer to the Quiet Rapture. The other piece this unnamed convict leaves for us is a note in the Iron Lung. We know this is from them, as when you read it, you'll get an achievement called Freedom, with its description being read with the last person left. It reads the following. This is not an expedition, it is an execution. When they put you in here, they don't want you to return. And even if you do, and even if they keep their promises, what freedom waits for you? A few dying ships and a sea of dead stars? If there is still hope, it lies beyond the veil. Hope in this void is as illusionary as the starlight. I will choose to breathe my last here at the bottom of an ocean, unseen, unheard, and uncontrolled. They will get their execution. I will get my freedom. While a chilling potential last words, there are a few things in the letter that stand out to me. The first is it lies beyond the veil. Beyond the veil is the final achievement you get in Iron Lung for having finished the game, which you get after you have died. This implies that going beyond the veil, to you and the unnamed convict, is to pass on. This definition to beyond the veil is backed up by and goes back to Christianity. The term was coined after a reading of Hebrews 10:19-20, which reads, "We have confidence to enter the most holy place by the blood of Jesus, by a new living way opened up for us through the curtain that is his body." After this, beyond the veil came to represent an unknown or an unseen spiritual realm, generally a hidden place of mystery. Christians refer to it as the veil holding the temple, holy of holies, and where God resides, away from normal people. It can only be reached when people pass through the superficial and move to divine truth and transformation. If we are to take this interpretation, this means there is something godlike in the depths of this realm. This would make sense given that, as we'll talk about soon, there are structures in the ocean that seem to resemble temples. And this would make sense given we get the Beyond the Veil achievement after we die, meaning we can finally enter this realm. However, given how dark it is, how the creatures that reside here are violent, and how they dwell in an ocean of human blood, I don't think it's a god. Or not the Christian God. Going back to the unnamed convict's letter, another line stood out to me. Hope in this void is as illusionary as the starlight. The word choice of void right after Beyond the Veil is interesting. Of course, void has biblical meaning too. In Jeremiah 4:23, it says the following, "I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, and they had no light." Void, typically in the Bible, means formlessness or emptiness. Coincidentally, this isn't the only time void is mentioned in Iron Lung. If we look at the game's files, Anomaly 7 is called Void. This anomaly is a beam of light that moves with each picture you take of it, and as you draw closer to it, it contorts the ship, almost as if it's trying to pull you inside. Looking at the map through a 3D program lets us see that this anomaly is in fact moving, and it's shimmering. It appears to be very warm or hot, as the blood around begins to bubble intensely as you draw near it, meaning it's probably boiling it. And the most unnerving thing of all is the sound it makes. While this may sound very Ghost Adventures of me to say, you can actually hear what appears to be distorted cries for help coming from within the void. Look on screen. I'll label for you what they are. The void, despite its name, seems to be either a wormhole, a portal, or a star. However, it is clearly not a wormhole or a portal, as if you draw your ship towards it or even go into it, nothing will happen. So then a star seems to be the most likely answer. This is even hinted a little bit by David himself, as when going back in his public Discord, someone asked him if it was a star, and he simply replied with a thinking emoji. In the book of Revelation, there is mention of 2 stars falling to Earth. One of the stars happens to fit this pretty perfectly, while the other seems to correlate to something else in the game we'll talk about a little later on. To quote Revelation 9:1, "And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven onto earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit." This star that fell from the sky opened the gateway for hell to come to earth. It's from here that Satan and demons came to roam the earth during the trials of tribulation. If we are to relate this to Iron Lung, it would explain how there are seemingly creatures alive down here in the depths of this blood ocean, but it also means that something equivalent to Satan is swimming in these depths. Although we never meet them, this unnamed convict has hinted through this letter to potentially know what is going on in 8T5 and what the COI might be hiding. If we are to take the Book of Revelation and some other biblical parallels into account, the universe has ended. Humans as a whole should not be alive anymore. Whatever ended the universe did not account for humans to be in space when all of the stars and planets disappeared. The cries of help from the star, the oceans of human blood, and the structures hiding something sinister. This almost feels like this is meant to be hell. And as we learn in the game, there could be something like the devil swimming in HE5. In the year 2370, or 378 BIC, we play as another unnamed convict, where the events of the game Iron Lung take place. After the destruction of the SM-8, the COI will do anything to make sure nothing happens to one of their last submarines. The top is welded shut, and the forward porthole is closed to prevent anything from happening to you. However, this means you are effectively blind, and your only way to see the outside ocean is through a camera in your sub. In our journey, we discover the previously named anomalies, as well as the spine of a now dead creature, the skeleton of yet another one of those giant creatures, and anomalies that stand out quite a bit. We mentioned it a little bit previously, but you see, Anomaly 5 and 9 are both structures with windows. In the game files, they're simply titled Building. If we take a look at the 3D map, we can see those structures have pillars and are built into the walls of the depths. In fact, they almost resemble a temple or shrine. They felt very reminiscent of old temples or shrines from the ancient world. Looking into it a little bit, I noticed they were very similar to that of the Temple of Jerusalem. In the game, we pass through an unmarked part of the map with brick walls on each side of us. This suggests two things. 1. This moon was home to a previous human civilization. Or 2. There is something intelligent down here in the depths of this blood ocean. Both are terrifying, but with their own unique ramifications. If this was a previous human civilization, how did they exist? This moon is barren. There is no atmosphere or oxygen. In fact, it's noted at the beginning of the game that this level of depth is too much for even the Iron Lung to handle. So there's no way a human could survive down this close to the core of this moon. Not only this, it wouldn't explain how little structures there are. If humans once lived here, then surely there would be more than just 2 buildings and some walls. But it does serve as a potential explanation for how the human blood came to this moon. The other explanation, on the other hand, means that something else lives here. Something that is alive, but that isn't human. Something that is smart and can build. Something that is watching us. After approaching Anomaly 5, we seem to teleport, moving seamlessly from one location to the next. Nothing pops up on the radar, but from the way your head whips and the sound it makes, it is clear that it is very likely something massive has smacked us. Eventually, on our journey, taking photos of the anomalies, we do see something alive down here. When taking a photo of a pair of ribs, we see as something watches us in the background. When you take another photo, the creature is gone. This creature in the game files is called Frog, which is funny because it doesn't look remotely like a frog, as it clearly resembles an anglerfish. Interestingly, frogs are mentioned 2 times in the Bible, both under negative contexts. The first is frogs were one of the many plagues God sent to Egypt to free the Israelites. The second is again in the book of Revelation, 16:13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For context, in Revelation, the dragon, or the serpent in some versions of the text, is Satan. The beast is seen as the Antichrist, or Satan, and the false prophet is someone colluding with the Antichrist and Satan. All of these go to show us that this frog is an unclean spirit sent after us by Satan to hunt us in this blood ocean. And it does. The frog follows the player seemingly throughout the whole game, along with something else. This something else we see eventually in our playthrough. It is the source of droning sounds that plague the ocean through our entire time down here, and it appears to be the dragon itself. Near the end of the game, our ship's radar will go off like mad. When you take a photo, a now infamous image of just an eye looking into the camera, as if it knows what we're doing, as if it knows we see it, shows up on the screen. After, it will groan loudly, hitting the ship to prove to us that it was what was smacking us around before. Just to reiterate again, in the Bible, many times, Satan is referred to or depicted as the serpent or the dragon. Here, based on the reptilian eye and the scales around its eyes, we can denote that it is likely a serpent. Based on how many parallels there are to the Bible in this universe, we can discern this must be Satan or something equivalent to it. And For those of you that think this might just be a giant fish, I have an interesting piece of information for you. On David Szymanski's official YouTube channel, he dropped 1 hour of Iron Lung music and ambience. I asked in his official Discord if this artwork was official for the game, and he replied that it was. While this may seem unimportant to most, the artwork immediately stood out to me. A submarine, either the Iron Lung or the SM-8, going through the Blood Ocean and being watched by the dragon. We can tell this is the same creature we take a photo of its eye, as when brightening the image, it has the same exact eye. And this creature is horrifying, almost like a cosmic horror being you'd see in a Lovecraftian story. It seems to be watching our submarine, smiling to itself, proving that it is indeed intelligent. We can denote that this is a different creature from the skeletons in the ocean, as if we compare the two, while their jaws are a bit similar, the bottom row of teeth is longer on the skulls than on this creature. It appears to also have a hand, with 7 fingers, if you can call them that. Although this leaves us with some questions that are hard to answer. What is this thing actually? Is this meant to be a cosmic interpretation of Satan, or something else? Why does it simply watch us and let us survive for so long? Or change its mind to make it attack us? These questions are never answered, as shortly after seeing this creature, the frog breaches our submarine and kills us. After we die, the track plays called Through the Veil, echoing back to the mentions of Beyond the Veil. We died in the Iron Lung, and now we're passing through the veil to see what lies beyond it. Did we find the rest of humanity? Are we met with anything at all? Or are we left to become one with the void as we beg for help? We find out at the end of the game that our expedition raised more questions than it ever answered, and that through satellite images they can see images of the Iron Lung scattered across the bottom of the ocean. However, it looks like it was torn apart by a huge beast, similar to the SM-8. No photographs of what happened were recovered. The COI notes that the universe, what's left of it, is dying, and much like the unnamed convict, the game ends by saying, but somewhere in the void, there must be hope. This once again points back to the void, the star found in the bottom of the Blood Ocean. The unnamed convict had hoped to find a way beyond the veil. Perhaps the void is the key. If it is, why can't we travel through it? Is it possible the rest of humanity was raptured away, and those that are left are meant to just rot and die? There is one more object left to interpret that is a part of the lore, a hidden anomaly. If the player ignores the first few anomalies and goes to explore the area where we die, they can go past it and into the corner of the map, where they'll find this structure simply titled Humming Monolith in the game files. This is an object that, while it looks to just be a rock, makes an unusual echoing sound when you're near it. There is no distortion voice like there is when you're the void, just humming. In the Bible, monoliths are mentioned in Leviticus 26. You shall not make idols for yourself or erect an image or pillar, and you shall not set up a figured stone in your land to bow to it, for I am the Lord your God. This reads almost like a warning to stay away from false prophecies. It's possible that the monolith is also a star, but one that is burnt out, or a satellite that has fallen to this moon. Either way, this means it could be the other star that was referred to in the Book of Revelation. We talked about the one that fell to earth and opened the bottomless pit, the gate to hell. The other star is called Wormwood. To quote Revelation, the third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. The name and star Wormwood is signaled as a cataclysmic event, a dark omen of punishment to signal Satan's bitterness towards the world. The star falling to earth is meant to signal end times are coming. The humming sound it makes could be signaling that it is radioactive, meaning it's poisonous just like wormwood was. However, if there were ever humans here, they clearly did not heed the warning. And that brings us to the end. The universe has died. The remaining pieces of humanity should not be here anymore. Yet they are, and with them, they will find nothing but monsters. The shadows of stars left to remind them of what once was. There is no hope for them. They can choose to embrace death, to go beyond the veil and meet the rest of humanity, or they can reject it and try futilely to survive in the void. All they will find is an ocean of their ancestors where the dragon swims, waiting for you to join him.
Kaiju. Kaijus. Everyone likes kaijus. The robot fights of Pacific Rim, any version of Godzilla, serious or silly. And who doesn't love Gamera? I love Gamera. I talk a lot about giant monsters, how much I love them. But let's be honest, if you were stuck in any of these scenarios, it would be absolutely terrifying. Imagine if you were just going about your day, and suddenly your entire life is uprooted by an incomprehensible beast. No context, no overhead view, you just witness the destruction the only way you can, on the ground. And so you film it. That is Cloverfield. For a time as a kid, Cloverfield was my favorite movie. When it came out, it had such an aura that couldn't be described. Every time I viewed it, I just had a sinking feeling. But there's a mystery to it. From its marketing, to the hidden little details throughout the film, to the concept of just found footage in general. This was my first found footage movie, and it stuck with me like nothing else truly did. To me, it was entirely unique. It still kind of is. As the years went by, of course my opinion on the movie changed. The mystery element sadly faded away. You learn all about the behind the scenes, how it was directed by Matt Reeves and produced by J.J. Abrams, and T.J. Miller went on to be T.J. Miller. Eventually, you just kind of stop watching it. You move on. Until you decide to watch it again for a silly YouTube channel. And yeah, after watching this movie again, I still love it, man. I can finally rant about this thing. Let's do it. When looking back at the big found footage movies, like Blair Witch, Paranormal Activity, and of course Cloverfield, they all have one thing in common: underground marketing, word of mouth. These movies only succeeded because it got people talking. Imagine if you were in the theaters in 2007, watching, say, Transformers, and this mysterious trailer begins to play. And then it ends. There isn't even a title, just a date. And so, speculation began. Here's the thing, I didn't even pick Transformers as a joke. The first Cloverfield trailer premiered on Transformers opening weekend. Truly, this was a golden age of cinema. Shut up, Grandma! So what could this new movie be? Everyone had different ideas. The article I read to jog my memory on the whole thing mentioned how people speculated it was a new Godzilla movie. And I gotta say, while reading that, I had a flashback like in Ratatouille. I was one of those people that thought it was Godzilla. Other people had other ideas. In the first trailer, some guy says it's alive.
God, it's alive, it's huge!
And for some reason, people misheard that. They thought he said, it's a lion.
God, it's alive, it's huge!
For a few months after this trailer released, some people thought that this was a teaser for a Voltron movie. Because part of Voltron is a lion. Anyway, the initial mystery took the internet by storm. Maybe it was Godzilla. Maybe it was Voltron. The only thing to go off of was that initial date in the teaser, 1/18/08.com. When you went to 1/18/08.com, you got these strange pictures. Today, we know that's just TJ Miller's face, but at the time, man, what could it mean? Spooky. This was the start of an ARG, an augmented reality game, created to drip feed information to internet sleuths. A mystery hunt involving various strange websites, this girl's vlog, fake MySpace profiles, and even slushies. Oh boy, the slushies. This wasn't the first or last time an ARG hit the internet. Halo did it with ilovebees.com, and Gravity Falls fans spent months trying to find Bill Cipher's corpse. But this one was slightly different. This one told a backstory. Each bit of information was a puzzle piece that fleshed out the Cloverfield world. Then sometimes, information that wasn't tied to the ARG at all just took the community by storm. What was this concept art? Was the monster actually a giant whale? So how much of the ARG actually played a part in the movie? Alright, so we're gonna go through this quick just in case anyone hasn't seen the movie in a while. Our video/movie begins with a disclaimer from the US government. The following footage is a part of the Cloverfield case. The video then begins with our main character, Rob Hawkins, filming an intimate moment Every time I show people this movie, I entirely forget that this is the beginning. So there's like a minute of silence where we're both sitting there, and I just know they're wondering what the hell I'm showing them. This girl, as we learn, is his friend, Beth. They are not dating. This guy is just casually filming a one-night stand. Oddly enough, that becomes a plot point later. The footage skips to a few months later.
Is this thing on?
Look out!
Babe, it's not my camera. I don't know if it's the on button or the zoom button.
The camera is now being borrowed by his brother, Jason.
Jason!
His fiance had an idea for Jason to go around filming all of Rob's friends, have them say little goodbye messages. This whole movie is because this girl had a corny Pinterest idea. Jason doesn't give a shit though, so he pawns the camera onto HUD, telling him to do a very important job, one that HUD will surely do correctly, and then he spends the entire night not doing that.
What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, dude?
What's up?
Goes around filming friends having personal and relationship issues, and then upon learning that his friends slept together, he goes and tells the whole party.
I knew it. They had sexual intercourse,
No,
they told me.
no.
Did you know that Rob and Beth had sex?
No.
I want an alternate version of Cloverfield where the monster just doesn't attack, and the next morning Rob just sees 50 minutes of HUD telling everyone about his sex life. Sadly though, the monster does attack.
Care about the most.
The whole film is just them trying to survive a kaiju attack. They try to escape, that doesn't work out. Rob gets a distressing call from Beth, he learns she's trapped, and the group ignores the evacuation to walk to Central Park. It goes about as well as you would imagine. The survivors get on the last chopper out of New York, right as the creatures bombed from the military. Man, if only the chopper flew higher. After witnessing TJ Miller get gobbled up, Rob and Beth say their last goodbyes as Central Park gets carpet bombed. The final shot is a flashback at Coney Island. Something falls into the ocean. Found footage films were once a novel concept. Then Paranormal Activity came out and spawned a trend that pretty much killed the genre. What we learned afterwards is that there is very much a wrong way to do a found footage film. Every movie in the genre really hinges on two simple questions. One, how did the footage survive? Like as an example, there's this movie called Apollo 18. Lost footage of why we really never went back to the moon. It's so stupid. Anyway, it ends with an alien attacking them and they all explode in space. They blew up next to the moon. How did anyone on Earth get the footage? Number two, why is the cameraman still filming? 90% of these movies can't answer that. Paranormal Activity just gives up by the third movie even rationalizing it. Cloverfield luckily doesn't have this problem. How did the camera survive? Well, it fell underneath the rubble before the final blast. Why is the cameraman still filming? Because HUD f***ing sucks.
Sorry.
I got it.
But I'm documenting.
Not this.
It's kind of a genius creative decision to have your camera guy be a doofus who ignores social cues.
For all we know, it's from another planet and it flew here.
Like Superman?
Yeah, exactly. Wait, you know who Superman is?
Makes things more interesting. We have a camera guy who really shouldn't be filming this, but he is anyway. He thinks it makes him super important.
Yeah, people are gonna want to know how it all went down.
HUD is in this movie a lot.
If this is the last thing you see, that means I died.
Despite that aspect of the movie really aging terribly, it's still my favorite found footage film. And it's not just because it's a kaiju movie and I'm a sucker for that. It's because of how complex this movie really is when you look under the hood. Like, just think about how many pieces had to come together to pull this off. Found footage is a low-budget genre. The Blair Witch Project just had their actors film in the middle of the woods. Paranormal Activity was in a suburban house. Half the movie was people sleeping. Visually, there isn't a lot going on. Except for in Cloverfield. And I guess Chronicle, but this is about Cloverfield. This movie's kind of deceptive. Each shot seems random, but it's all deliberate to build up the scene. As a certain decrepit old man once said, you might not have noticed it, but your brain did. Like, take the bridge scene for instance. Rob gets a call. The camera pans to his brother, getting pushed away. Pan back to Rob.
Okay, Beth, you're gonna have to calm down.
A chopper shows up, and its light blinds the camera. Everyone looks at the bottom level of the bridge. Why are people running away? Who knows? The chopper is now shining a light on the crowd. The camera zooms in on Jason, who stands on a statue to get a vantage point. The chopper is now shining a light on him, and whatever everyone is reacting to off screen. We get a hint that it's something above him though, considering there is now water dripping on his head. The camera finally zooms out to reveal that it's the monster's tail. It's a little exhausting for me to break it down like that, but the whole movie's like that. Deliberately shot to seem not deliberate. So much thought given into every little action and pan of the camera. Because this is information the audience still needs to know to get the scene. Just like in any other movie, there is still build-up, tension, and payoff. It's just done in a single cut, with a first-person view. I could easily imagine this same scene playing out in a conventional kaiju movie. The impact, though, just wouldn't be the same. What's kind of funny is that even though the movie did so much to lead the audience along, audiences back in 2007 weren't really ready for it. It turns out that the shaky camera led to a lot of sick people. That's fine, weed out the weak. They never could have survived hardcore Henry.
Look out the field!
As a kid, all this adult stuff kind of went over my head, but now that I'm older, I kind of realized that this was like a CW romance drama that literally got stomped on.
Oh my god!
I think the weirdest thing about watching this movie now, man, I don't know how else to say it, it feels old, but that can't be right. I saw this in theaters. How can this be old? But everyone's on Blackberries, or flip phones, and just this guy's hair dates it the most. The technology of the time is inseparable from the movie itself, which influences how the entire movie is cut together. It's disjointed and out of place, cutting at random and imperfect times because HUD kept pressing the record button on and off.
I'm gonna test him up for a knife.
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, guys. Hey.
What is that?
This movie could only have existed in 2008, a time before everyone ended up having a camera in their pocket, especially when physical tape itself was phased out. Throughout the movie, HUD keeps accidentally switching back to the original recording on the tape, which was Rob and Beth's Nice Day Out, a happier time, now accidentally wiped away and taped over, all to film for a going away party.
Did you switch the tape? Because I had a tape in there.
I don't know. It was
I feel like this should find like any kind of teacuppy thing.
tape. Was in here when I...
And then the tape is used for another purpose, filming the monster attack that ultimately kills everyone. Rob leaving and the monster attacking literally wipes out this nice memory they had.
No.
But it's ironically what brought them back together. Their relationship still oddly lives on as a classified file owned by the American government. Everyone has their own idea of what the most 2000s film is. The most of its era, for good and bad. And for me, I would say Cloverfield's up there. Not really because it's the most dated or of its time, but for another reason. Alright, time to talk about 9/11. I said this in a previous video, but I'll reiterate it again. Lindsay Ellis once made a point to describe Independence Day and War of the Worlds as distinctly pre- and post-9/11. I'm gonna take that metaphor and apply it to American kaiju movies. Yeah, same metaphor for Godzilla 1998 and Cloverfield. One is peak late 90s Americana, also directed by Roland Emmerich, about a monster rampaging through New York City, and it doesn't even knock down a building. And then there's Cloverfield. I don't think you needed me to tell you this, but so much of this movie is directly influenced by 9/11 footage. Its visual language is certainly the most 9/11-esque of any major film ever made. Matt Reeves has gone on to say the movie is a metaphor for 9/11, like how the first Godzilla was a metaphor for Hiroshima. And yeah, you can tell, it's as subtle as a brick to the face. That said, of all the major American films meant to contextualize 9/11, this one's probably the best. And it's really because the rest are just so fucking terrible. It's just one of those events that don't work out when you try to put it on screen. Ever. Like everyone saw it on TV the first time.
Weller, look who's here! Mr. Peanut!
I love Mr. Peanut!
Mr. Peanut is here!
Is he salt-free and dry roasted?
Look at that silly guy. He's just a baby. He didn't mean for this to happen. Yeah, if you didn't know, Clover was confirmed to be a baby. Neville Page and Matt Reeves said they wanted it to be like a newborn deer. This is like the worst version of Bambi ever. At first, nothing Clover is doing is intentional. The oil tanker sinking at the beginning was probably just because Clover wandered into the Hudson, and then it exploded. This thing really is just a big baby. Which is kind of terrifying then, because it implies that there's a mom out there. Where is the mom? How big is the mom? There isn't even a real name for this thing. Everyone just calls it Clover. Clover's a little different compared to other kaiju. Godzilla, when he's taking on a villain role, is just downright malicious. The Pacific Rim kaiju are literally biological weapons. For a lot of kaiju, there is some intentionality to their actions. But not really with Clover, at first. Except I guess when it rips off the Statue of Liberty's head and throws it. But hey, that's just because Matt Reeves likes Escape from New York. For the most part, this thing acts like a baby deer. A giant, fish-like monster deer. Yeah, this thing does look pretty wacky, doesn't it? It's kind of a shame that this design is only used in a movie that briefly lets you see the monster. It's only once you pause the movie or just look at a model online where the true freakiness of Clover really comes out. Look at that thing. So first off, its body shape in general. Something I'd describe as spore creature. Clover's four-legged, but its body is vertical. So those main front arms, or whatever you call them, are like twice the size of its hind legs. It's such a strange body plan. I love monsters that have that body plan. It's why Behemoth is the best MonsterVerse kaiju. I never noticed before just how big Clover's front paws are. Or at least I think they're paws. Hands? Either way, they look goofy. And then it's got these little arms on its torso. At least I thought they were arms. Apparently they're not. They're actually external esophagi, outer intestines, with teeth. In the limited manga tie-in Cloverfield Kitchen, they're literally tubes that suck people up. But hey, how can you be scared of that face? He's kind of cute. A big, angry fish with weird air sac things and a large underbite. I've always thought about living in this world and what the aftermath would be like. It'd be kind of horrifying, right? Like, imagine waking up and then this is on the news. Where did it come from? What's its origin? Well, people in-universe probably would never know. At least we knew. Anybody who read the Cloverfield wiki, or watched those Cloverfield lore videos on YouTube, all of those came from the same source, the ARG. You see, J.J. Abrams really liked to incorporate hidden meanings surrounding anything he worked with, and he was very vocal about the ARG, that exploring deeper into it would unveil more information that the movie didn't. There was no need to explain to the audience what this monster was. You could just go online and find out yourself. It was a story all of its own. So what actually was the lore of Cloverfield? What was this backstory the ARG unveiled? It all led back to one name: Slusho. Okay, stick with me. So, every vlog from this girl, every bit of information collected, every MySpace post from fake people, told a lore backstory on where the monster actually came from. And it all revolved around Slusho. Or more importantly, Slusho's parent company, Tagarado. There's a Japanese government satellite named Chimpanzee 3 that broke apart and fell into the Atlantic Ocean. You can see it falling at the end of the movie. While scanning the Atlantic Ocean trying to find the downed satellite, Tagarado discovered something called Seabed's Nectar, a mysterious resource that comes from the bottom of the ocean. And they decided to use this mysterious resource as their secret ingredient for their slushies. So Tagarado decided to create a rig and begin drilling. So that raises the question, what the hell is seabed's nectar? Is it kaiju goo? Is it something kaijus like? Who's to say? And it was while drilling for seabed's nectar where they accidentally woke something up. Like the dwarves in Moria, Tagarado dug too deep. In December 2007, Clover awoke, got pissed, and destroyed the rig.
The Atlantic Ocean suddenly sinking under violent and unexplained circumstances.
Then it started making its way to New York City, and finally reached landfall on May 22nd, 2008. Easy, to the point, it makes sense. Clover looks like a big old fish, of course it came from the ocean. The lore was settled, YouTube videos were made, and everyone moved on. Then 15 years later, Matt Reeves says the monster's actually an alien. In an interview with Sci-Fi, Matt Reeves discussed working on the first Cloverfield. There was this exchange, which I'm gonna read verbatim. In terms of its species, was it of this planet, or is it an alien? It's alien. In fact, at the end of the movie, you can see the moment when it comes to Earth. It's another one of those little Easter egg moments. But when we revisit the footage where they're on the Ferris wheel at the end, you see the meteor flying down and hitting the ocean. That's actually the beginning of the baby being on Earth. This was a nuke to all the ARG enjoyers out there. Truly, there were no survivors. Many simply ignored his comments. He wasn't involved in the deep lore. He just forgot what they included in the ARG. It's been 2 decades, he's just being stupid. Matt Reeves, the director, and Drew Goddard, the writer, pretty much disregarded the only canon this movie ever knew. Because if the monster's an alien, then every forum post, every Tagarado cover-up, the station collapse, the very monster's origin would just not have happened. None of this would be canon. I love the ARG lore, so I just didn't pay this much mind. And then I started making this video. I got curious, started digging deeper. I shouldn't have done that. Over the last 15 years, this movie's previously established lore has unraveled, all thanks to each interview by the people that actually made the damn thing. Let's start off simple. In an interview, J.J. Abrams was asked what the ultimate fate of the monster was, and he answered, yes, he's dead. Ultimately, the bombs kill him. At the end of the original movie's credits, there is a final audio message. It says, help us. Here's the thing, if you play this message backwards, it says the words, it's still alive. So what the fuck do we do? By the interview of JJ, monster is dead. But by the canon of the actual movie, the monster's actually alive. Why did JJ say it was dead? Well, it's probably because he didn't know that Matt Reeves snuck it in. The major creative heads on this movie can't even agree if the creature died. I can't blame JJ for missing this little Easter egg in his own movie. He's just a producer, and he didn't have eyes on every creative decision. Especially one just snuck in at the end of the credits. A lot of people missed it. Hell, even the Cloverfield wiki missed it. There's a lot of debate about whether the creature is dead or not, because some, even knowing about the backwards message, say that JJ just confirmed it was dead anyway, so it's dead. The question now is, what do we consider canon? A clue left within the actual film itself? Or an interview, after the fact, by just one of the creatives involved? JJ started slapping the Cloverfield name onto movies that were gonna just bomb at the box office. It was kind of a weird idea, but it could work, you know? And then Cloverfield Paradox came out. Not only is it pretty terrible, but the space horror film ends with this. Yeah, a series that was getting away from the kaiju monster and making its own name ended up right back where it started, tied to the first movie. All because JJ couldn't help but jingle some keys in front of the audience. This monster, though, is really big. It's up to the clouds. If Clover is a baby, then that's probably its mom. At least I thought it was, until JJ opened his mouth. It's the same creature, but definitely bigger. I mean, it was a baby in the first one, so maybe it started eating its Wheaties and grew a little bit. This creature at the end of Cloverfield Paradox is the same monster. This is Clover. J.J. Abrams said this monster was dead and then changed his mind a decade later for shock value. The term death of the author is used a lot. Does an author have permanent authority over the canon of what they wrote after the fact? Or should the words be left to the audience's interpretations? The problem here is that there wasn't just one author for this project. There was mainly three. Technically four. J.J. Abrams the producer, Drew Goddard the writer, Matt Reeves the director, and honestly, the ARG. This isn't a death of the author situation. This is all of the authors fucking killing each other. They all wrote a book, and then had entirely different headcanons about what they wrote. And the other three really didn't know or care what the fourth was cooking up. Then most people paid attention to the fourth one. And it all started with that very first hint, the one that dates the pictures of Rob's party as 01/18/2008. Wait a second, 01/18? The movie takes place in May. Okay, you know, that's probably an honest mistake. Nothing too weird. I'm probably just looking too deep into this. The only thing that really matters, if we're gonna be honest, is the satellite. You know, the satellite that J.J. Abrams said woke up the monster. But I thought the drilling woke up the monster. Alright then, this satellite then. I don't care what Matt Reeves said. That was Chimpanzee 3, the wiki even says it. This was the exact moment the monster woke up, on April 27th, 2008. Now we just have to confirm in the ARG itself, this was when the satellite fell. And going into Tagarado Corp's website in the Wayback Machine, we see right here. Tagarado used the Hatsui satellite to try to identify a rogue piece that is thought to have fallen off the Japanese government's Chimpanzee 3 satellite. Although Hatsui's work has not yet been able to confirm the identity of the fallen piece, Tagarado scientists and engineers are busily trying to track and recover the fragment. According to Hatsui data, it disappeared into the Atlantic late last week. Awesome! Now we just have to find the date, and it's January 3rd, 2008. Wait. Why did it come to this? I just want to talk about the funny kaiju movie. Alright, here's the thing. I love the ARG. This is my canon for the last almost 20 years. But, I think I noticed its limitations. The simple fact that this was a real-time event for a movie that was released on January 18th, 2008, and Cloverfield's time frame is between April 27th and May. The ARG's events kind of had to end in January, at least the major elements of it. They did post a few things after, but not a lot. Either way, this created a time gap of a few months. So what's the problem here? Just move a few dates. Well, while the ARG is implied canon, the movie is actually canon. Like, something did fall out of the sky on this date. And if you consider the dates of the ARG canon, then the satellite fell before January 3rd. It couldn't have fallen on April 27th. Now, I've seen a few explanations for this. One, this was actually the secondary satellite, the Hatsui. But, like, this is collectively agreed to be Chimpanzee 3. I mean, you could pretty much ignore any time issues because it makes the events more interesting. Who cares? It's fiction. This is ultimately just headcanon. And I tried to do that. I really tried to do that. So according to the ARG, Tagarado scoured the ocean for the satellite and found the nectar spot. Then they built the rig over the nectar spot, which awoke the monster, and destroyed the rig in December 2007. But the website says they were looking for the satellite in January 2008. Why is this before that? Okay, say the Chimpanzee 3 crashed in April 27th, just like JJ said. Well then, Tagarado would have identified the area, discovered it was a source of nectar, built a rig, and then have it blow up in the span of a month. You see the flaws here. If you like the ARG canon, don't let me be a buzzkill. You can have your own head canon, that's fine. But for me, I personally can't help thinking if this whole lore was just 3 marketing agencies without really any communication, all going off vague notes from Bad Robot. They all got their dates crossed. Do we start considering parts of the ARG just not canon? Which parts are canon? Is none of it canon? If you look into the abyss of the mystery box, does it look back? That damn satellite just keeps popping in my head. I just keep thinking about what Matt Reeves said, how he put things into the movie that JJ didn't know about, how JJ just changes his mind, and a dark thought enters my mind. What if Clover was an alien? Remove the ARG from your mind. We are dealing with purely the info we have in the movie. What are we left with? This is a movie about young people in New York whose lives are uprooted by a monster attack. Who are the main characters? Really, it's Rob and Beth. This is Rob's camera, and it's about him learning about what's important through disaster. The movie starts with these two, and it ends with these two. If Clover was actually an alien, what does it contribute to the lore? Nothing. The ARG is not canon, all of these videos are wrong, none of it was canonical, even those really cool pictures of parasites in the ocean. We accept that the ARG was a fun marketing tool by J.J. Abrams, a guy who has been shown to not really think any of this through, and even if the ARG tried its best, it clearly was not the main priority by anyone who was in charge. So let's say Clover was an alien. He came from outer space. What does it contribute to the movie? If we go by the ARG lore, this is the ending. After Rob and Beth's death, the camera jumps to their happy day together. We see a satellite fall to the Earth in the background. Through the lore and JJ's confirmation, this was the satellite Chimpanzee 3. It may or may not have woken up the monster. While searching for it, the Tagarada Corp finds a source of seabed's nectar, which they use as an ingredient for their slushies. They create a rig to contain the creature and also drill. The creature awakes, destroys the offshore rig, and steamrolls for New York City. Cloverfield ends with a little nod to the people who followed the ARG, like JJ said. The satellite is really just a hint for people to explore the lore themselves, a wink at the audience, and this has been my headcanon since 2008. And then there is the alien ending that Matt Reeves and Drew Goddard apparently intended.
Approximately 7 hours ago, something attacked the city.
The movie ends with Rob and Beth holding each other as the bombs fall down.
I love you!
I love you!
The camera jumps to their last truly enjoyable moment together, and in that moment, Rob is oblivious that something just fell into the ocean. The object is Clover, still as an egg, falling right off the shore of Coney Island, an island directly next to the Hudson River. The egg will hatch, the alien will grow fast, and wander up the river. And as its first snack, trying to eat the Statue of Liberty. Why it's here, we don't know. But in this final scene, we do get one question answered: where it came from. The payoff of all these flashbacks truly coming to a head, showing that this camera was the first one to spot the monster. There's also that dark irony. Not only is it showing this lost relationship, but also showing the arrival of the monster that ultimately destroys them.
I had a good day.
The movie now has far less background information, but you also need less info. This is a more self-contained movie. To me, this just raises more questions. Why did it happen to land right outside New York City? Why did it try to eat the Statue of Liberty? No, actually, think about this. Other than it being a reference to Escape from New York, why in-universe did Clover try to eat the Statue of Liberty? Why did it assume it was food? Clover has never seen a human before. The statue doesn't smell like anything alive. For all it would know, this is just a big building. The only thing the Statue of Liberty did was be shaped like a human.
Who was eating people? Who was eating everyone?
And yeah, we no longer have a Lovecraftian horror, but we have a cosmic one. This is a terrifying kaiju that pops out of nowhere. Our characters have no clue what's going on. And now, if you choose to accept this